Now, a couple more categories of sight words here. You have some words where it's not necessarily an E at the end that you're not pronouncing that's really the issue, but you have words that seem to just defy a learner's ability to be able to read. Like look at the word, for example, laugh. L-A-U-G-H. That seems like a word, certainly in kindergarten, that you might have to put up on a sight word wall. But if you look at the secrets and you figure that the learners know, first of all, A-U-A-W, of course, we said they're going to see that. They're going to go, ah. Now, once they've done that, they've got ah. Now, that G-H, if they know the secret stories, and I don't know where my card is specifically on that one, but it addresses based on being in a line waiting for a ride, like at the amusement park. It addresses the sounds GH makes at the beginning, in the middle, and the end in such a way that you could explain it to 5-year-olds if you so felt, and it would be very easy for them to remember what sound to make based on where it is in a word. I think the secret's something along the lines of, and I wish I could find the picture to show you, but it's something along the lines of the GH at the beginning. They're at the beginning of the line for the ride, and they're going, oh, this is great. This is so good. I'm so excited. We're gonna get to go first. This is just great. And they have a big fat G over their head because that's the sound GH makes when they're at the beginning. The ones at the end, the GH at the end, they're not so happy. They're going, man, we're so far away. I can't even see. You know, it's going to take forever to get in this ride. This just stinks. I am just not happy with a few other expletives, by the way, that when I do conferences, especially with intermediate grade teachers, they've come up with some other reasons why GH might make the sound when it's at the end of a very long ride for an amusement park. Now, I won't go there myself, but it was just an interesting additional pattern they came up with. So we've got GH at the beginning going, this is great, I'm so excited, we're going to get to go first, like in the word ghost. At the end going, man, this is so bad, we're so far away, it's going to take forever, saying at the end, like the word laugh. And then you've got GH in the middle. Now in the middle of the line, you know, when you're two little kids waiting on a ride and there's all kinds of bigger kids around you, everywhere you look, one side or the other, you're just surrounded. You don't tend to say very much because you're kind of surrounded by a lot of other people, and sometimes it's intimidating, so you just sit there and you're just going to stay quiet. And that's what the GH do in the middle of this line of letters that's on the poster for the secret stories. Now, because they say nothing and they remain silent when they're between other letters, we have words like sight or neighbor, so that explains where they are in the middle of a word. Now, having said that, we've got the ah, and then the now granted, that doesn't sound like the word laugh. It sounds like the word laugh. But here's the thing. I attribute just a grain of common sense to the learners because I look at this as training doctors, and I want my doctors to be able to think past the penicillin didn't work. Or, gee, he doesn't have pneumonia like I thought. I want them to be able to move forward and think, okay, then what else could it be? What else could I try? What does it sound like? What does it look like? It may not look exactly like it's supposed to, but what does it somewhat resemble? There's a great book called The Hungry Thing, and there's another that's a sequel called The Hungry Thing Returns. And it's all about what else can it be, what else can we try in terms of what they think the monster is saying. And the monster, for example, might say something like, I want some schman makes and lapaloss. And the townspeople say, schman lakes and lapaloss? What is he talking about? What could it be? There's a little boy in the town that's very adept at being able to translate the sounds made by this monster and figure out what it is that he's trying to say. And in the book, the little boy says, well, schman cakes and schman lakes and lapaloss sound like band bakes and apple doss sound like pancakes and applesauce to me. So throughout this whole book, the little boy and the kids collaboratively with the little boy's character can try to figure out how to get from what it sounds like to what it actually is. What this sounds like it might be given the vocabulary that I'm familiar with, and even better if this isn't a word wall, but if it's a story that you happen to be trying to attack text in, what word would make sense here that sounds like laugh? It doesn't take a brain scientist to know that it would be laugh. Now, another example of that, something I would expect kids, even at the age of 5, to be able to figure out what it sounds like, bend the vowel a little bit, and that's another trick doctors will use. Bend the vowel, bend it just a little bit to see what else it might be or what it might sound like. Another example of that is the word from. From. The word is not from. It would be better spelled F-R-U-M, from. However, if the kids pronounce it from, it shouldn't be too big of a leap for them to get from. Many is another example. If kids know about sneaky Y, then they know if they see a Y at the end of that word, it's got to be sneaky Y. And if you don't know why, I would suggest you go to Pinterest and you can see either myself or a little girl dramatizing it. And you can also see the poster for it. But in any event, they know to try E or I. Now, if they sound out that word, they're going to get annie, many, many. Now, that is a little trickier, many. But if it's in context of reading, there are many students in the class. Again, it doesn't take a giant leap to go from many to many. Now, here's where I would not suggest using this particular trick. On this Dolch list, you have words like what, put, do. I wouldn't necessarily think it's within a learner's capability to take a word like what they would see as what, W-H-A-T, and be able to know that that sounds like what. That to me is a word that goes to the principal's office. That to me might be a word you send to the specialist. That is a word that really we don't have much power over, and the time it would take to play with it to the level we would need to even get close to it would negate it as a sight word, something we could come to quickly and read in text. So that word I would put up in word jail. The word put, same thing. If you sound that word out, you're going to get put. It could take forever and a day for a learner to decide that put sounds like put, because it really doesn't, not at all. The word do, same thing. They might try da, they might try do, but no matter what you do, you're not going to get them close to do. It's interesting to note that the greatest offenders that will inevitably need to go to jail, in terms of word jail, are these high-frequency one-syllable sight words. They are the was and the of and the do and the put. They are the could and the would and the should. These are the words that I like to focus on and see in a word wall. I really don't like to see words like, and I made a note on a couple of them, like live, like from, like give, like pretty, like please, like little, like fine, like blue. And then, of course, there's some on the Dolch list, by the way, that aren't even falling into the category of problematic at all. They're your perfect students. They're your textbook patients. Words like a, or make, or me, or my, or not, or play, or read. Now, go back to the word play for a minute. I can understand if you follow suit with traditional curriculum, EY-AY might not be introduced until second grade. So a kindergarten or first grade teacher might say, well, heck, if we don't memorize it as a sight word, how else would our kids read it? They're going to think it's playa. True, but with the secret stories, and if you're using them, you know that it's as simple, if not simpler, to teach the EY-AY sound as it is to teach the A. Because EY and AY are just too cool. So they always stick up their thumbs and go, A. And that is the sound that they make. So whether the word is play, day, fray, they, it doesn't matter. The kids can read that, which means then it doesn't need to go to jail. It's just the same old, easy as pie. Soon, this, to, well, will, with, yes. These are all just great exercises to put to use the skills that we kill ourselves to teach with individual letter sound skill instruction. I mean, why do we even bother doing all the letter sound skill instruction if we're then going to have them memorize words like at, or him, or stop? What is the point? Why bother? Let's not even bother teaching letters and sounds. If we're just going to have them memorize all these words anyway that are perfectly readable, perfect opportunities to engage and reinforce and strengthen the skills that we are so intent upon bestowing upon them, why would we want to memorize them instead of actually read them? For speed? I mean, really? The point is to be able to read. To be able to write. Why spend hours and hours and at the end of the day you own 30 words? Why not spend less than hours and hours and at the end of the day own 600 words? Because you own what those words are made of. You know, the doctor doesn't just memorize that Molly has impetigo. The doctor learns about impetigo and all of the other potentially related illnesses that can mimic impetigo. So that the doctor doesn't just know that Molly has impetigo, but he can recognize Molly or anybody like Molly that happens to have these particular symptoms that are impetigo, or any other symptoms that might mirror other potential default illnesses. You get so much more bang for your buck when you use your buck to buy the bang. And that's really the idea. I think we get we divide our efforts to the point of futility, and I think the earlier in grade levels you teach, the more you find yourself running around in circles and then trying to figure out where it is you think you're supposed to be going. Because when you finally look up past what the scope and sequence shows, you often question where you're headed to begin with.